Hey guys.
Joel. I'm seeing 7 board members currently. Wait a minute, folks, and allow others to join in.
Good day, Patrick. Tom just pinged me. He's gonna be getting on. I don't know if you see him or not, so I apologize.
Tom's there. Yeah, he's good. Let's see. We need one, two, three, four, one, two, seven.
We should have a quorum.
Okay. Should we wait another minute, or are we?
I believe Nick and Dan are joining from the boardroom.
Oh, okay. I don't see them on here.
I guess one of us needs to ping him, but yeah, Dan actually if I was coming to y'all. Not Dan, Nick was I coming to y'all in case I again. So I know
Okay.
that name.
There's the board. Maybe we can get a count of who's there. Hang on.
Hi,
Okay.
it's Zach Siegel, Alex Ray, Dan Brumbaugh, Leslie, and Nick, all here in the boardroom. Four
Okay.
board members in the room.
Okay. So that brings us to everybody. Okay. Or so it seems. Anyway, welcome, folks. We have an emergency special meeting that has been called of our board of directors. I'll explain why in just a moment, but before we get started, I'll ask the secretary to call the roll.
Patrick,
Here.
Alana,
Here.
Earl,
Here,
Joel. Joel, unmute yourself and say you're here. All right, Joel, you're here.
Sorry about that. Here, I thought I did that already.
Dan,
here.
Leslie,
Here.
Beverly,
Here.
Tom,
Here.
Zach,
Here.
Alex.
Here.
Quorum is present.
All right. So this was noticed as a Zoom emergency meeting. We're here today to review a proposal from the EGLLM, the Water Company Board, which would return us to a model where both companies would share our employees. I want to acknowledge that members of both boards of the POA and the water company, in conjunction with our manager, Nick, who you see there in the room as well, have been working very, very hard for months to come to an agreed framework that we all think makes sense on the costs and on the division of responsibilities. I expect the president of the water company and a member of the POA board, Dan, to present a motion in a moment to approve a plan by the EGLLM Water Company Board. And I think it seems that we have reached consensus on much of that framework, importantly, including a split of the compensation and benefits at 50-50. We're in open session, obviously, so we're not going to discuss any individual employees' names, compensation, or anything like that. This is really just all about discussing the framework and where we are. And so I believe, look, I think we're really close, and today we're going to see if we can get consensus to a full and complete plan. And so with that, I'll open the floor.
So I would like to make a motion for a partnership with EGPOA, obviously the water company, and adopt the as written motion that was approved by the water company and adopted on Thursday.
Okay. Yeah,
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
and I just want to read that out, as I know Chris is taking minutes, so bear with me just a second, Dan.
I can read it if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
So the original motion from the water company was for a partnership with EGPOA as it relates to payroll and benefits packages of employees who are equally employed by both organizations. The partnership is limited to payroll and benefits of Nick Warner and Anthony Manieri, as employee Val Harrison is not impacted due to the agreement already in place. Scope is that Nick and Anthony Manieri be employed simultaneously by both organizations with benefits packages owned by EGPOA. In turn, EGLLM will be responsible for 50% paid to each employee, as well as 50% cost reimbursement to either employee or EGPOA outlined in the work agreement. This increases the salary for Nick to $83,250.
Hang on.
No, stop.
Whoa.
I think we're open session, Dan.
You can't say.
You're in open session, you're not in executive session.
The approved amount for Anthony Manieri would be for 20 hours. The motion carries as a contingent only on the shared adopted approval of this agreement.
Okay, so that is the proposal from the water company board that's been made, and I believe Leslie seconded. Did I hear that right?
No, Alex.
Alex. Thanks, Alex. All right. So we can have discussion, debate. I guess the most orderly way to do this is if you're on Zoom, kindly use the raise hand feature. Nick, if you could help me out in the main boardroom if there are folks who have their hands raised. I see Chris has a hand up, so I'll let Chris go. And I'm going to let my dog in.
Dan, I agree with the 50-50 split that you've outlined. I am willing to agree to the shared employee model that you have proposed. I thank you for the work that you and your board have done in developing a proposal that gets us very close to consensus between the two boards. I also would like to propose several amendments today that I think would both ensure that the EGPOA board can do its fiduciary duty in terms of oversight and can protect the employees a little bit better, and also I think most importantly to secure the partnership that you're talking about between the two boards. And I just wanted to, I'm going to put these amendments in the chat so that people can read them. I'm hoping we can kind of consider them one at a
I don't
time.
know that. I don't know that I can see the chat. So if you can.
I'll put it in the chat and I'll read it out loud. Would that work out okay?
Yeah.
Cool. And again, I propose these in the spirit of working towards an agreement that we can all vote on to approve today. So number one, the EGPOA board approves the following language defining the scope of each board's responsibilities. The proposed agreement will take effect once the EGLLM Water Company Board approves this language or proposes revised language mutually agreeable to both boards. A. Each board retains independent oversight over the services provided to its respective company, and shared employees shall take operational direction from the EGPOA and EGLLM boards on matters related to their respective companies and within the scope of this agreement. B. Each board shall provide direction within the scope of its own entity's operations. Neither board may unilaterally direct shared employees in ways that materially affect the other entity's operations or resources, except with the mutual agreement of both boards. C. If shared employees receive conflicting or incompatible instructions from either entity, the director of property management shall promptly notify the presidents of both boards in writing. We've talked a lot about autonomy and independence for both boards in the past week. I believe that this lends clarity to the agreement, that it protects the autonomy of both boards, and in particular the water company board, which I know is a matter we've discussed many times. And I think also provides protection for the employees. It prevents them from being pulled between two boards. And so I'm hoping that we can, I'm going to leave it at that. That's the amendment. I would invite a second for the amendment.
I'll second the amendment.
Okay. Joel, you have your hand up, and Andrea, I see your hands up. We're going to have an opportunity for members to ask questions once the board's concluded the business. Thank you. Joel,
So
go
my
ahead.
question is that if we can just also add something as far as when we would get reimbursed. When we would get reimbursed from the water company. So like, would they put up their money like pay us as of the first so that we have the money to pay the employees as compared to using our funds and then always paying catch up? So that's something that I'd like to add to that, to Chris's.
I mean, is that more of a management mechanical thing? Do we need to vote on that
That
necessarily?
should be an administrative management issue.
It's fine.
Joel, I have some of that already incorporated into the work agreement.
Okay, as long as it's there.
Yeah, and I guess my question, Patrick, excuse my ignorance, the amendments that are being proposed, are we saying that those amendments are going to, we're contingent on those amendments for us to move forward?
That, can you see them? Yeah.
Well, they're amendments, so yeah, just like any amendment it would, once Chris has gone through the amendments that he's proposing, and that Dan's now seconded, if they're agreed, they become an amended proposal that we vote on the main motion, just like we would in any.
Basically,
Okay.
it sounds to me like what Chris is looking for is the ability for EGPOA and EGLLM both to be not considered under a hardship when it relates to employment or employee governance of the board of directors. So an example, Earl, might look like the president of EGLLM occupying all of the director of operations time so that he's unable to perform his obligations to EGPOA. And then what would trigger or what mechanism would we put in place to prevent an overuse of his time and underuse of the additional time? Does that sound like what you're trying to protect here, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's trying to try to give the board's guidance on the kind of direction they should give employees and to make sure that that neither board is making a decision that materially impacts the finances of the other board, right? The reality is we have shared employees, but this compensation agreement also is shared. And so there is a partnership here. And I think most importantly, like this is based on our experience, at least for the board members who have been here for a minute, that we want to protect our employees. We care deeply about our employees. We want to set them up for success, and part of success is clarity and making sure that neither board, and including the EGPOA board, is giving instructions to employees that would kind of affect the other company, right? That we're trying to protect each other's autonomy here.
And I'm with you on that. We certainly would not, on the LLM side, want to cause undue stress to the POA. So
I've also put the motion in the chat so that board members can read it, and so that the community also can see that.
Yeah, and I think, just for my own 2 cents, I think it's a good amendment to Dan to protect the concerns I think that you have of I don't think you suspect it out of this group, but it could, never know who you're going to get in the future of the POA sort of overreaching into the business of the water company. So I think it's a good amendment to sort of drive those
to
rules.
kind of go along with that, Chris, the water company has created and shared yesterday, and it's now been approved, what we call a shared employee or director grievance petition. I would ask Nick to share that with all the board members. And the petition essentially, once you receive it, will give either the employee or a director who believes that they've been grieved a voice, and it'll put into perspective maybe a mediator or a mediation process to work towards resolution. So Nick's going to share that, and the water company has already essentially approved this document. So if the POA wants to also use it would help prevent situations like that. And then what do we do in the event that something does leave agreements on either side, so, I invite board members to take a look at that and read and share your thoughts, as Nick shares that, because it's just it's literally live, it was just, shared with the board last night. Any other questions?
Wait, shared with,
The water company board last
okay,
night.
okay, because I haven't seen it yet, so,
The POA has not seen it or,
Got it.
reviewed it.
And it has not been deployed to the employees yet.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just,
so,
it's just something that we,
That passed.
all right,
yeah.
so let's do this, Dan, that's fine. Let's let the POA board members have some time to read it and think about
Yeah,
it.
no,
talk
I'm
about
asking
it.
if they have any questions, outside of that.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, cool. So just trying to move us along and draw focus. We have an amendment that has been made and seconded on the
I
floor.
request a roll call vote.
Okay, are there any other questions before we call the question? Leah, I see your hand up, but we're going to go just with the board members for now. We'll have the member questions at the end. Okay, any in the room?
I just have a question, Patrick. Are we making this effective August 1 for payroll purposes?
The overall proposal or this particular amendment?
The overall proposal.
We'll get there. Hang on. Let's just deal with the amendment, and then once we go to approve the main motion with the presumably approve the main motion and plan, then we can just talk about the administration of it. All right, Chris. Roll call having been made and roll call having been requested, I'll ask Chris to call the roll. This is on the question of the amendment.
Patrick,
Yes.
Alana,
Yes.
Earl,
I apologize. I'm thinking I'm still reading. So if you can come back to me,
Second call.
Chris. Sorry.
sure. Joel,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes,
Leslie,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Alex.
yes,
Earl, would you like to make a vote?
I'm going to abstain because I haven't read it yet, but it is what it is. It carries, so it doesn't make a difference.
No. Just to clarify, that's not on the thing that we just got given, correct? That's on the motions.
no, it's on Chris's.
Okay. All right. I apologize. She was right. Okay. Yes. Yes. I've read that. Okay. Yes. I apologize.
The motion carries unanimously.
Fantastic. All right. Chris, you said you had a series of amendments earlier. Do you want to propose?
I think he meant ABC.
Oh.
No,
Chris,
I actually, Patrick is correct. I have separate motions. So Dan, my next motion actually, since you brought it up, it connects to what you just began to introduce at the end of the last conversation regarding kind of formalizing procedures for conflict resolution, so that the two boards can work together more effectively going forward, which I think is something that members of both boards value a great deal. And so I'm going to share this motion. This is a motion to amend. This is in the chat. I'll read it out loud. In order to promote a more constructive partnership between EGPOA and EGLLM, this agreement will take effect pending a joint agreement between the EGPOA and EGLLM boards on a formal process to manage and resolve interboard conflicts. The EGPOA and EGLLM boards must meet jointly no later than Friday, August 8th to consider that matter. Of course, we could meet sooner. So, Dan, this could take the form of the EGPOA board simply taking a quick vote to approve what you just said. I hope you would recognize that perhaps EGPOA board members deserve a little bit more time to consider that proposal.
I don't think that you would want to, I mean, it would take an act of God for you guys to want to vote on a grievance petition you just received about 130 seconds ago. So,
and hearing your concerns, which I understand that you want to move this forward and reach a resolution. I think I'm putting the deadline for us to meet and resolve this within a week so that we can honor that, the timeliness that you've asked for here. We certainly can meet earlier than August 8th, but I think formalizing a process for the two boards to kind of cooperate on joint issues is essential.
yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair. Are we saying that, in the event that the motion to adopt the water company's agreement carries, it will not go into effect until this secondary amendment is approved? Or we just have to put a framework together while that motion carries?
The motion, the motion, to answer your question directly, the motion as written says that the main motion will only take effect once the two boards agree on this amendment. And like I said, I recognize that
I
we've
don't agree with
forward
that.
on this. Understood. As I said, I recognize that some members of the board want to move forward in a timely way. That's why I put this as Friday, August 8th as a deadline for EGPOA to move on this. I don't anticipate us having difficulty developing these conflict resolution procedures, but I think we need to do them before this agreement takes effect.
I understand, your reluctance there, Chris, but I also, I don't think that has to be the position that we take either, because we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I mean, there's no reason why, the POA cannot offer to employ its staff, which is what the motion does, because currently the staff is not on record right now for the POA. So my ask is that we carry that and employ the staff, and then we can still have the ability to discuss and break down and see what conflict resolution looks like.
I think.
We don't have to have that. I mean, it'd be great if we had it done by August 8th, and I fully intend to, we could do it by tomorrow if we want. But I don't think that needs to hold up the process of employing our staff. Because right now there is no.
Yeah, Dan?
Can I jump in, please? Chris, you speak,
go ahead.
you
Go ahead,
speak specifically for yourself. You cannot, and that's where it has to be. It has
Well,
to
I
be.
always speak for myself. Thank you.
Okay, then let's leave it there. So if that is something that there's alignment with what Chris' disposition is, completely agree. If there are dispositions that don't align with that, as it relates to Chris's disposition saying that it needs to be resolved on or around August 8th, let's speak about that. Because I don't agree, and let's identify those persons that are in alignment with what Chris is saying based on it being resolved by a particular date.
I'd also add as a point that the motion to amend still requires a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Joel seconded, just so everybody heard that. I'm not sure. Okay. Earl, anything else?
No, sir.
You wanted to say something and.
Well, we're gonna get to that.
I apologize. I apologize if I cut somebody off. Alex, I'm sorry.
Alex, go ahead.
Or we can do it. What do you want to do? I mean, we can talk about.
We can talk, but that doesn't mean that it's in place.
And
So, Chris, there's a discussion that we have had regarding some of the framework that we can agree with. I would say if you want to have that discussion now, Nick has outlined some lines that we do have some agreement with. If we want to use that as a takeaway, and then work towards the agreement if we want, but your motion right now is that we don't move forward with hiring staff until that is approved, correct?
Yes, my motion, the spirit of my motion is that this is a big decision that involves a great deal of money, including for both the EGLLM Water Company as well as for EGPOA. And it creates our payroll is EGPOA's biggest single expense, and that we should have an agreement between the two boards about how we figure conflicts out when they come up, and they have come up in the past, before we proceed with an agreement. In other words, we got to figure out how we're going to resolve conflict before we enter into an agreement with one another. I am happy to discuss that on the spot today.
Chris, if you have number 6 from your original shared services proposal we were putting around, remember the one you did?
I'm happy to introduce that as an amendment to the agreement.
If you can pull up number 6, I think that in the conversation that I had with Dan and Alex, we can make some changes to that, and 6 might be acceptable, which is basically the conflict resolution policy. And I think that would probably make the amendment moot in a sense, and maybe we could hash that right out today.
One moment, I'll put that in the chat for everybody.
How many people are on this?
I don't know how many
Oh, you can't see.
it's Chris's chat.
The whole board. Plus us.
I have to put this in as multiple messages because it's over apparently Zoom is like Twitter. It has some kind of like weird character count thing, but 1 second.
Sure.
When does this sharing of salary arrangement kick in?
Yeah, we're gonna get there, Joel, but I think from what I heard earlier is that Nick and Dan it appears to me like it to take effect as of August 1st. And I presume that's largely for accounting and payroll. So
it would be effective it could be effective as of this coming Monday.
Okay.
Would make the most sense for payroll purposes.
Okay.
Just 1 second. I'm struggling a little more with technology than I usually do.
Oh, right, because we're on a weekly payroll as opposed to
Right.
What about the back stuff?
There is no back stuff at this point, other than the reimbursements due to the POA or from the POA to the water company for time that Anthony Manieri has done for the POA. We could sort that out in the future at a board meeting if we wanted to.
Is that the back stuff you're referring to, Joel?
No, I'm referring back to this, that we've been dealing with this for a while.
So, on the issue of conflict resolution, so I've put this in the chat. All the board members have previously seen this in a draft that I distributed a couple weeks ago. I can just summarize it briefly. It would create a joint oversight committee, a joint board only oversight committee composed of representatives from both boards. This committee would effectively become a joint HR committee between the two boards. Again, shared employees, but interlinked employees. And the idea would be that the two boards would work together in partnership to both proactively manage HR issues as they come up, and to make recommendations to either the separate boards or to both boards. And I think most importantly, well, two things. This joint oversight committee would take point in conducting annual performance evaluations for both the director and the assistant director. And in the event of a conflict between the two boards that wasn't easily resolvable, this oversight committee would again jointly composed of members from both boards would take point in trying to gather information and resolve that conflict amicably. Again, like I'm not trying to obstruct or delay the timeline here. I just think that we need to know how we're going to resolve conflicts before we enter into a really big agreement. I want us to get there. And I also I just want to say this out loud. I want the EGPOA board to have a more constructive and cooperative relationship with the EGLLM Water Company board. I think that formalizing these procedures and having things in writing is essential to creating that constructive partnership.
So just as we start to enter some of the areas on this, we have to accept and honor that the water company additionally has its own job title. So essentially your draft here includes only what's referred to as the director of property management.
All right, so let me just go through it. It's easier, just go line by line, Chris, and I think if we go line by line, we're probably going to get to where we need to get. Starting with in section 6, we go to bullet 2, adding the word operation after management. So director of property management, director of operations, because I have dual titles. In the bullet number 3, review and evaluate employee compensation benefits of only shared employees. Same thing in number 4. Recommend changes director of property management, director of operations. It's again adding in the dual titles. In number 5, Dan had asked that obviously we would add in the title again, and the performance review be of only me, and I should be reviewing Anthony Manieri as he is my subordinate.
I can agree to that, speaking only for myself. That's a fair compromise that I'm willing to make. I have another amendment that I'll address in a second, related to the assistant director, but that's on the side only. I'm again, just I don't know how we got there, but just for me, I'm fine with that.
Okay. The remaining items are fine. It references section 7 in letter E about term and termination. So we have to still have some understanding about term and termination because this technically is the framework of an agreement. So I believe, and I'll just ask Dan and Alex, but I guess we would continue to have some understanding that this is a yearly agreement and there would be notice if there was going to be a termination, we went a different route, and it's a 1-year agreement with a 60-day notice.
So I would say,
sorry,
I would just say that these are the agreement. The main motion that Dan has proposed creates dual employments, and that reserves the right to both boards, the sole right to both boards to terminate their agreements terminate their own agreements. This conflict resolution would not affect. I want to say this out loud. This does not affect or impinge on either board's ability to terminate employees. I would expect that given this kind of conflict resolution procedure, that this would be a matter of proactive communication between the two boards. Again, because we're talking about dual employees, I think everybody needs to remember that the finances are interlinked, right? That God forbid the termination of an employee directly affects not only that employee, including not just their compensation, but their benefits, but that also affects the finances of the other board and potentially the operations of the other board. So I would just say, again, I am not seeking to impinge on the water company board's discretion and authority to hire and fire. I am seeking for a more formalized way for the two boards to communicate about matters related to our employees.
And
so
Nick,
we can strike E from that. I'm sorry, Pat. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, maybe I misheard what you were asking about. The overall agreement, the one that we'll vote on in a bit, I don't view that as a 1-year agreement. I mean, I think it should, I don't want to be doing this every year. I don't want everybody to have to go through this every year. So I think that should be indefinite until either side goes, hey, I've got a better idea.
Patrick, so Patrick, you bring up a valid point because both organizations are independently hiring. Nick, you couldn't necessarily put it as a annual, but the agreement, if the agreement between the boards wants to be on an annual basis, then that's different. Or do we just want to leave it subject to change?
I would leave it subject to change because, again, I mean, it's taken us months to get here, right? So this is far too much of all of our time. I just don't want to see us do this every single year. If that means this proposed joint oversight committee, we have to look at the appointments once a year. Okay. Because obviously board compositions change with elections and such. So then that I'd understand. But I think the overall agreement in and of itself should be until one side seeks a change because.
Yeah. I also want to clarify out loud just to make sure that all members agree here that the water company in particular agrees that while the main agreement, recognizing that the main agreement includes only the positions of the director and assistant director, that the joint oversight committee would the scope of the joint oversight committee would include HR issues related to all shared employees.
All shared employees, correct. Valor, office staff.
All shared employees.
Assistant director.
All shared employees,
Shared.
present
Yeah,
and future.
well, I think we just, I
Yes.
think we said that, we laid that out, because obviously the water company has plant operators that are not shared, so.
Okay. So I guess what I can do, I just want to, Dan, I recognize, I really appreciate kind of us working together on this. So
Live.
what I can do is, Nick, I think I caught everything that you asked me to do. I can withdraw my initial proposed amendment, and I will motion to approve the thing that I'm about to put in the chat. Motion to approve a joint oversight committee as specified in the chat. And once I do that, I would invite and appreciate a second for that motion. The letters,
I'll second.
the letters are going to be messed up because of chat.
I apologize. Who seconded? I missed it.
Earl
Was
second.
there- Earl. Okay, thanks.
So the framework is, EGPOA currently and EGLLM agree to independently employ the services of Nick and Anthony Maneri under the guidance of individual boards with discretion and direction going to a joint oversight committee for competing interests or conflicts.
Yeah,
And then in addition, if you would also like to review and advise on the petition that I asked to be shared, because that could conjoin all of that in one.
happy to consider. I have motioned. Earl has seconded the motion. Nick, if you want to read through it one more time, I think I caught everything that you asked me to do. I'm happy to make anything else on the fly.
Sure, I can make it simple. Wherever the word director of property management occurs, we would also add director of operations. We would add in item 3, review and evaluate employee compensation and benefits of only shared employees. We would take and remove in section 5, and assistant manager. And that is the change. Oh, and in letter E, we would remove letter E if no resolution is reached of this agreement. It may be terminated pursuant to section 7.
Because it's subject to change.
I think I cut that out from the thing I just put in the chat, so I just eliminated that entirely. So I think the last sentence of the proposed amendment is each board shall retain authority over its own entity's obligations and decisions.
Okay. We also have the video, so we can go back and make sure the wordsmithing is just exact. And we'll put this together in sort of a package document at some point.
And then the document will be countersigned by
Sure.
Patrick and Dan, I would assume.
Sure. All right.
Roll call vote.
Roll call.
Roll call having been requested. I'd ask the secretary to call the roll.
Can we convene after?
Patrick.
Yes.
Oh, also on the previous amendment, I would obviously vote yes. Patrick, Ilana,
Yes.
Earl,
Earl, you're on mute if you're trying to vote.
Second, does he vote still?
Yeah.
Second call.
Yeah.
Come back to him, Chris.
Vote now.
Yeah.
You can vote motion
I guess.
and vote no.
Joel,
Seems counterintuitive, but.
Dan,
Yes.
Leslie,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Earl, you there, buddy?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm yes. I was trying to come off mute. I apologize. Yes.
Okay, I obviously vote yes. The motion carries unanimously.
Great. Any other amendments?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
2 more guys.
Any way we can take them together?
I actually the one we just made covered one of them that concerned performance reviews, so that's moved at this point. The last one, The last amendment I'd like to make is that the proposed agreement will take effect pending EGPOA's approval of a job description for the position of assistant director. The EGPOA board must hold a special meeting no later than Friday, August 8th to consider this matter. This is a major hire and the creation of a new position that involves significant expenditure of funds. I do not believe that I would be doing my fiduciary duty to approve this agreement if we approved the position creation of a whole new position for EGPOA without a written job description. That is for us to, as board members, to provide effective oversight over the association, and also to protect the employees. I do not want an employee working for EGPOA who does not have a written job description that outlines their responsibilities and obligations. Again, I put Friday, August 8th as the time. I recognize that people want to move forward and get this done. It can be sooner than Friday, August 8th. It can be tomorrow for all I care. But
Can we make it right? Can we make it right now? I believe that you have one. Can you present it?
I can present it. I sent that to Nick. Nick, are you comfortable with me presenting that as is right now?
Please do, Chris.
Okay. As just for my record keeping, please don't take this as bad faith. Just for my record keeping, is there a second on the proposed amendment?
On yours?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, just give me a moment to work this up.
Yeah. Nice. Nah, she's out there, grandparents right now. But that one, so spend some time there. No. Over 4 weeks.
One second. Just give me 1 second. So this is a longer Google Doc. So can I just
use Google Docs?
Sorry. So can I just ask for some? I'm asking for some guidance here from Patrick.
Nick?
This document that I drafted does not include any information on salary or benefits. Can I simply share a link to the document in the chat?
Yeah, it was just the job duties. That's totally fine.
Okay.
And it's creation of a position. I know we have an individual in mind for it, but it would apply if we were looking to hire for it.
Okay. And like I said, I initially drafted this with the when we were working on a single employer model. I recognize that we will change that in the context of this conversation. Just please take that as good intentions. All right. That link is shared in the chat. Board members on Zoom can access that link. And Nick, perhaps you'd be so kind as to pull it up on the screen for the board members in the boardroom.
Are you going to read it, Chris? Or
I don't know that we're going to need to read it live, but
I can share the screen. How about that?
Okay.
Awesome.
we have it on our side right now. I'm reading here, but Nick is scrolling through that I can't read. Please.
All right. So I can share to my screen, and then Nick, we can make as you catch things that you notice, we can make amendments, and perhaps we can approve this on the fly. Just give me one moment. I know I wrote manager, and I know we'll change the title to director in just a moment.
We're good to go up.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, I'm sharing my screen.
Well-rounded.
Just to be clear, this is an agreement for, this is a job description for the assistant director on the EGPOA side only. You know, that I would hope that the
So we don't have to do anything on our side
Yep.
So Chris, I think that minus any verbiage related to the water company and water titles here. And I'm not speaking for Dan or anyone else, minusing that language, I think this is as the director, this is an acceptable description. And I think I will also in the future make additional recommendations of things we can add to it. But if the rest of the board is in favor of this minus the water references, I'm sure someone here might consider making a motion to adopt.
I will. Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
Go ahead.
I'll withdraw the motion I'll withdraw my prior motion to amend, and I will motion to approve the assistant director job description that I have just proposed. That I've.
Can we add compliance? Can we add compliance work to the job description?
Compliance?
Yeah, about the chat job. The chat job.
Building code enforcement, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Nick, is that something you envision for this role?
We can certainly add those functions to the role. It will not be the primary function of the role, as we've discussed in the past. Sure.
That's fine.
Assist in the compliance, absolutely.
That's fine. That's fine.
Do I have a second for the motion to approve?
I'll second that. I'll second that.
Thank you, Zach. All right. So this is just this isn't actually an amendment. This is
separate. This is just
separate, but it'll help. Okay. Any questions on the job description for assistant?
I just want to say thank you because this has been the stumbling point all along the way. So this is really this will get us across the finish line. So thanks.
This is the last amendment. This is the last proposal that I have. If we can approve this, then I feel comfortable voting yes on the main proposal today.
Okay.
And I also request a roll call for this.
Roll call.
When is this all going to be effect, guys? Because we're increasing salaries left and right, and
Monday.
Huh?
Theoretically Monday, but let's hang on. We're gonna deal with our spoonfuls.
What about
as
the
we've got
past
them.
money that's been laid out?
Hold on, Joel. We're dealing with the spoonfuls as we've got them. All right. So this is the narrow issue, not narrow, but this is the singular issue of approval of the job description. Motion's been made, seconded, roll call requested. I ask the secretary to call the roll.
Patrick.
Yes.
Alana.
Abstain.
Earl.
Yes.
Joel.
I'm going to abstain.
I vote yes. Dan.
Yes.
Leslie.
Yes.
Beverly.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
Alex.
Yeah.
The motion carries. I have no further amendments to propose to the main proposal on the floor.
Okay. So with that, we now know what the proposal looks like as amended. Are there any other questions, thoughts from board members? Or can we carry it forward?
When is this all? I know it's going to be effect on the payroll, but what about the reimbursement part?
As it relates to the effective date, I want to change or add to my motion to make it effective Monday, August 4th.
That's fine when you're going to adjust payroll.
So
payroll
which
rate.
reimbursement part are you talking about?
Can we get to the reimbursement after we get?
Well, he has a question.
I just want to get it out there in the open because this is the money factor. So
Which reimbursement are you referring to, Joel? Because I'm confused.
I'm talking about we're going to have to reimburse for Anthony, and then there's also a difference in salary amounts for you, Nick.
Oh,
So
okay,
I'm saying we should do this all at the same time.
Okay, so in terms of the reimbursement for Anthony, the water company will provide an invoice to the POA for his time and accounting. You and I can sit and have that conversation if you'd like before the end of this coming week, before the 8th, since that's been the trigger date. And then the water company can present that invoice to the POA for approval at its next board meeting. Is that fair?
Right, but what about your stuff? Because there's a change in your allocation of the compensation.
So
we're making that effective the 4th.
that'll be effective the 4th. And I think if we're gonna have that discussion, we should go into executive session if we're gonna talk about actual numbers and how those adjustments will take place.
That's fine. That's fine.
So on my original motion, as approved by the water company, I'm just adding in effective date, August 12th.
Right. Got it. Okay. Any other board member questions or thoughts on the main proposal before we take a vote? Okay, seeing none.
Roll call vote.
Roll call having been requested, ask the secretary to call the roll.
All right, so this is on the main motion to approve a shared agreement on or an agreement on shared employees between EGLLM Water Company and EGPOA to take effect Monday, August 4th, contingent on this vote. Patrick.
Yes.
Alana.
No.
Earl.
Abstain.
Joel.
No.
I vote yes. Dan.
Yes.
Leslie.
Yes.
Beverly.
No.
Tom.
No.
Zach.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
All right, with 11 voting members present, 1, 2, 3. The motion passes with 6 votes in favor.
Okay. That concludes the business that we had on our agenda. I know some of our community members had questions, and let me just address. I think Lee asked whether. Sorry.
Did you have any opinions on who the joint committee would be?
I mean, yeah, I'm thinking. Well, Chris is going to be most likely assuming our HR committee, so I think it makes sense and Chris has been deeply involved in this proposal, so I think it would make sense if he were to do that. And so is the mechanism we each board proposes to, because I would also think Alex, who I know is the personnel committee chair for the water company, would make sense as well. But I don't want to steal one of your appointments, Dan. But that's
I mean, that's fine, and we'll discuss on the water company side, but
okay.
I don't want to just put names out there until we have a discussion, but I think that's fair.
Okay. So I put a couple out, but I'll also reserve the same right. All right. So I just want to open it up for community member questions.
Yeah, I want to support them.
And just address.
Patrick,
yeah.
If it's questioned, I would certainly support Len Bernardo being on the joint committee. So
why don't we just think about it for a moment? We all catch our breath, and then we can figure that out.
Unknown caller.
Okay.
All right. So community members want to hear from folks who have questions, but just to address, I think it was Lee's question about whether members are going to speak before each vote's taken, and the answer to that is no, because our board procedures are that we don't pause for member comments and questions before each voting item. It just takes, frankly, too long. But we had been doing our member comments and questions at the beginning of our meetings because I thought that made sense for people to have input that the board members could hear before taking the vote. But we've had significant comment in our last several meetings that folks don't like that and want to hear it, want to have the member comments and questions at the end. So that's what we're doing. So Andrea, you've politely raised your hand and have been so patient. If you'd like to go first, please feel free to unmute.
Okay, thank you so much. I was surprised to hear the no votes. First of all, I want to say thank you all for your thankless work. And I know it's not easy being on the board, and it's a lot of free volunteer hours, and I want to thank you for that. So, but okay. So my question is, I was surprised to hear no votes. So, and because I didn't hear any of them say anything. And so my first question was what was the pros and cons of having shared employees? I mean, obviously all this work is being done because so to avoid like conflicts of interest and I guess any kind of colluding or stuff like that. So, I guess I'm curious what the pros are of having it and, what the cons are. And I was wondering if some of the people who voted no could say why.
Yeah, Andrea, this is Beverly. So I'm more than happy to let you know why I voted no. So first of all, I want to thank all of my fellow board members of EGPOA and also of the water company as well, because they've been putting in a tremendous amount of time and effort, and also all of our employees as well, because they work very hard. I specifically voted no for this proposal because, and you'll notice that I voted yes for the amendments, right? So um, these are our employees that we have. They're already kind of functioning in dual roles. So obviously, I already know where that's headed. As someone who's worked on an operational level, running different facilities and taking care of different things, I personally don't agree with shared roles or people working in dual roles, because I think that it can lead to burnout. It can sometimes overwhelm the employees. That has not been the feedback from the employees at all. They have great feedback. They're doing great with our community. But for me personally, I just have a principle about it, and I need to stand on that principle for myself. We also worked very hard last year to undo shared employees. So it really didn't make sense to me to do, complete turnaround from that. And I also felt like it came kind of more out of necessity and convenience versus a well thought out process. And when I say a well thought out process, I'm not slighting anybody else's work. So I really want to, I want people to know how much I appreciate everybody's work. But we're allowed to have different opinions, and that's just my opinion and just how I feel. It doesn't take away from the vote passing today. I support my other board members in their decision and all of the hard work that they've done.
Thank you. So I wonder if someone could just speak to them. Why, if I know, I remember when we worked hard to get rid of shared, go against the shared employees concept, and then as Beverly put it, there's a turnaround. So what's the pros? I mean, why did we do that? If I just want some explanation, some context. So, I mean, I'm like Beverly, whatever the board decides, I mean, I'll support it, but I just want context because I don't understand it.
Yeah, I will defer to the water company board who presented the proposal. Maybe Dan can speak to that.
Yeah, so essentially, and just to clarify a couple of points, there is, I know Beverly just discussed the shared employees, but the problem and the persistence with this is there is one person that was not a shared employee. EGPOA did not employ Anthony Maneri. EGLLM did, but the services were his services were shared to the POA, just EGLLM was his sole employer. So this proposal was obviously in a pursuit of making that position a little more whole on both fronts, because again, his role and function was existent on both sides. However, EGLLM was his sole employer, which I'm sure we can all agree was not, necessarily fair and balanced or equitable to the EGLLM. And also EGLLM wanted to ensure the integrity of its operations and make sure that the staff that we did have or that we did share had the ability to do their job function on the EGLLM level without infringing on what they are doing on the EGPOA and vice versa. So the thought was, we've done this before in the past, but how do we do it without creating friction or conflict? So this is why we have competing interest clauses and stuff like that that we're putting into place in the agreements process. So that was the reason why we wanted to, or the water company really wanted to pursue its independence and move forward on this.
Another, I would say when it comes to operationals and why I voted yes, it gives both companies, both entities consistency because it promotes standardized process that they can both follow, especially if the companies collaborate and share the goals. Decentralized decision making as well because it's easier coordination in shared areas like whether it's compliance or legal or strategic planning. It does give both entities a centralized decision making. Also adjustable resources allocation. They can use their time accordingly. Crisis management. The share staff can step in to cover when another staff member is not available. So those are good pros that I saw on this share employment agreement.
Andrea, does that help?
Sure. Yeah, is there anybody else that wants to say anything about that? Or the more that I hear, the better. Yeah, but if that's it, then yes, thank you for answering.
Any other board members want to address it? Okay. Thanks very much, Andrew. We really appreciate it. Anybody else? Leah, I didn't know if you still had
Motion to move into executive.
Hold on. Lee has a question. Go ahead, Lee. Got to unmute.
Unmute. Still muted, Lee.
Yeah,
okay. No. There we go.
Your hand is still up.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I know that the dollar amounts in compensation cannot be discussed, but really the shared compensation, the idea of the shared compensation was not discussed. It's unclear if there's a water emergency for 4 days and the staff is working for the water company, how do you work out the compensation in that kind of situation? You never discussed that shared effect.
This agreement only covers 2 employees. Both employees are salaried exempt and not entitled to overtime. The salary split between the 2 companies is 50% pay and benefits. So
it's 50%, but if one of them is tied with the water company for 5 days because of an emergency, it's still 50-50. I mean, how do you share that?
That is the reason. So that's a good question, and that's the reason that I wanted us to have a joint committee for us to, address situations like that if they come up. It wouldn't affect the agreement as a whole, but it would give us a chance to kind of work through those.
But that compensation factor should be discussed before the is approved.
So Lee, I would just to clarify what you're saying. What you're talking about is service. It has no impact on compensation. Again, both employees that are covered by this agreement are salaried exempt. They are not entitled to overtime. Your concern, as I hear it, is delivery of service to the POA. That is also my concern. That is why I spent a lot of time proposing amendments today that could, I think, get us to some kind of consensus. So if there was a concern on the POA side that operational matters had come up where we didn't feel like, I just think, just to put it bluntly, we were getting our fair share of one or more of these employees, then the procedure would be for representatives of the 2 boards to meet and hash that out. But it wouldn't incur anything like overtime on the POA.
No, I mean overtime, but just as to which entity is, you're saying 50,
I'll touch on that.
but you're not getting 50% of the workers' time.
Leona, just to touch on that. Your concern, yes, is valid, but keep in mind too, the water company employs staff separate this agreement. It has its own independent staff to operate the plant and for distribution of water and for water main breaks. This agreement does not include that staff that is wholly employed by the water companies. Yeah, so this is just the executive staff of the water company, not a situation of a water main break where we have to have somebody come out and do a water main repair. We would appreciate if Nick is in the hole helping them patch and repair that, but that is not necessarily Nick's role and function in this.
Turning water on and off yesterday.
Right, but in any case, I think compensation, as Chris just said, should be looked at. And especially since now you're putting the assistant director as another employee, which will cost the HOA, the POA section more. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Andrea, your hand, I don't know if you re-raised it. It seemed like you did.
I did re-raise it. I did.
Good.
I
Go
did.
ahead.
I did. I just want to say, I wanted to say something just about, I thought all the amendments were great, and I'm happy you proposed them, Chris, and it's very clear that you take this seriously and you're working very hard on it. I'm very glad you're going to be on the JLC. But about the JLC, just to Leona's point, I just want to say that I see that you're going to have quarterly meetings and you're going to evaluate all this, and that proportional compensation would be difficult. And if it's so disproportional, that there are methods and mechanisms in place to address that. I just want to say that, but my question is a little different. First, I was curious about the compensation begins August 4th, or is, because I heard the water company talking about Anthony Maneri's been working for us and hasn't been paid by POA, and they're going to put in the hours. So is it retroactive? That's my first question. I didn't want to ask all my other questions the first time around. That's why I raised my hand. But I'll ask my second and last question. So the first one is the compensation retroactive, or is it just beginning on August 4th? And if it's retroactive, back to when? And my second question is just about the conflict resolution. I think it's great. I agree you need something in place, but I just wanted to point out that your final step is that, and then the individual boards shall resolve it formally. What if the boards can't? What's the next step after that? Will it be mediation, which is not binding? Would it be arbitration, which is binding? I just wanted to know what the next step was after that, because I can foresee if you can't resolve it in the first two steps, and then the final step is like, okay, so now each individual board's going to take it up on their own and resolve it. What if you come up with different resolutions? Yeah. So I think that there's another step that's needed. So those are my two questions.
Just to, on the last question, it certainly, I would never advocate for arbitration. Just as a lawyer, I find arbitration to be too difficult. And I think really the next step outcome is political. It's, then if you have two really deadlocked boards who are frozen, unable to resolve something, and it's harming the community is, can vote with their feet and replace those board members. I really don't think it would come to that. I think our two boards have been, we're not always aligned completely in an agreement on everything, but we can get there.
But I hear that's a good answer. Thank you. Yeah, then it's
also,
up to. Yeah, go ahead.
Today is to answer that question.
Yeah, and Andrea, the boards had previous agreements regarding prior compensation. This is a go forward agreement. I think to address the conflict resolution issue, I think in the structure that we just approved, both boards retain hiring and firing authority. So I say the next thing I'm going to say, I should say first, like I admire and respect and care about all of our employees. If we got to a point where let's take Lee's example. If we got to a point where the POA board or the EGLLM board felt like, for example, we were not getting good service for a role that we had hired for, or that we were unsatisfied with an employee's performance. I'm speaking hypothetically here. And on the other board was perfectly happy with the service they were getting and was perfectly happy with that employee's performance. I think that's an unlikely scenario, but like let's take the service thing. So we get to the point where the EGPOA board just doesn't feel like we're getting good service from one of our positions. The EGPOA board, I think, working within the framework of that joint oversight committee, EGPOA board still retains full discretion and authority to terminate any role as we see fit. All of our employees are at will. We didn't just create a contract. That is not a decision that I think any of us ever would take lightly, but that we would still have the discretion to do so.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your service, everybody.
Thanks, Andrea. Really appreciate that.
Motion to move into executive?
Sorry, yes, but let's do that. But one more thing. I just want to remind folks that tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., we're going to have a Zoom town hall with regard to the two capital spending items, capital repair items that'll be on the ballot at our annual meeting on August 17th. That's just to address those two things. I think Chris will be sending out something soon about Meet the Candidate forums. That'll be completely separate. This is really just to as we've done in the past, answer members' questions about spending proposals that'll be on the ballot. Okay, so that's tomorrow at 9 a.m. Nick has sent out the Zoom link for that. And then just lastly, and perhaps most importantly, I know Nick sent out a note and word of it this morning. Our community, of course, is mourning the loss of one of our members and an important member for our board. Marvin Newberg was our counsel. He was our friend, and we're all pretty sad about what happened there. Marvin's funeral is tomorrow at 2:00. Nick sent out those details, so just encourage folks to keep his family in your mind.
All right, you know what? I'll take the top off. Give me 1 second.
Thank you, Patrick.
All right,
So
guys.
if you're going into executive session, we can sign off?
Yes.
So I'm leaving. Thank you so much, everybody,
Thanks.
again.
Yeah, so I'll second Dan's motion for executive session. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any